Hey everyone, welcome back to another What Sold video. This past week I had 43 online sales across 5 different platforms, including eBay, Etsy, Poshmark, Facebook Marketplace, and even had a sale on knickknacks for a total revenue of over $1,400 and a profit of almost $900. Add in over $300 in boost sales, and I had a very strong week. Items went out to 10 different states, plus I even shipped one overseas to Italy. New Hampshire and California led the pack, and this week's top 10, it's mostly books in China, living up to my reputation as the China King of Knoxville. But which one grabbed the top spot? Stick around and let's count them down, starting at number 10. At number 10, we have an Etsy sale, and it's my only consignment item in this week's top 10. It was a really cool metal fish-shaped tray that reeled in a buyer from North Carolina. It sold for $38.65, and after fees, the profit came to just about $22. Remember that consignment can be a nice boost to your business, especially when you don't have to front any cost of goods sold. Let me know in the comments if you do any consignment, and if you don't, why not? At number 9, we've got a real blast from the past. It's a 1964 16's Secret Sweetheart Book magazine, so right in the heart of Beatlemania, and it was packed with teen heartthrob content of the day, including Paul McCartney from the Beatles and Peter Noone of Herman's Hermits. I picked this one up at my favorite thrift shop, and it sold locally through Facebook Marketplace in a front porch pickup for $24. Now, the best part, there's no fees on local pickup, so everything outside of your cost of goods sold is straight profit. For me, porch pickup's the way to go. That way, if a buyer flakes out, doesn't show up, whatever, I haven't wasted my time driving to a meetup spot. How about you? Do you use local pickup sales? And if you do, are you team porch pickup or team meetup? Coming in at number 8, we've got another Etsy sale. And while eBay's usually my strongest platform, Etsy's really pulled its weight this year, especially over the past couple of weeks. This time it was a set of 4 Canada Goose shot glasses, and I scooped those up at a yard sale for just $1, and they sold for a little over $32 with a profit of around $25. And these skis didn't head south for the winter. They actually flew off to a buyer up north in Illinois. At number 7, we've got the first piece of china to make the countdown, but it's definitely not the last. Keep this pattern in mind because you might just see it again before we're done. This one was a Wedgwood serving platter in the Kutani crane pattern, and I picked it up as part of a complete 8-piece place setting that I scored on the world's longest yard sale for just $40. This particular platter sold for $36 on Poshmark, and it netted me a profit of around $26. I will mention Poshmark's been a little slow for me lately, so it was nice to see something move there. At number 6, we've got a local Knoxville favorite. It's a 1989 Star Recipes cookbook. This cookbook features 632 recipes that Mary Starr cooked on her live morning television show, which was the Homemaker Show with Mary Starr on WATE TV in Knoxville. The station's still here, the show isn't. And this is actually the 3rd copy I've sold in the past year. Being a local item, I tend to find these pretty often at yard sales and thrift shops for next to nothing. And this copy sold for almost $34 on Etsy and netted me a profit of just about $26. And not surprisingly, it stayed right here in Tennessee. While cookbooks like this may not always be big money makers, they are reliable sellers and they're super easy to ship. They're definitely a bolo if you can grab them cheap. And just wondering, do local or community cookbooks, do you grab them when you're out sourcing, or do you just pass on by? Let me know in the comments. And with that, we're already halfway through the countdown, and the top 5 is coming right up. Before we get into number 5, I do have a little booth disaster that happened last week at West End, where I have one of my booths. Gina, the manager there, texted me after a customer told her a shelf had fallen over my booth. She even sent me this picture, and apparently the only witness was the rocking horse standing guard in the background. I have no clue how it happened, but I'm trying to stay positive and just chalk it up as a tax write-off. You gotta love the booth life. Now let's jump right into the top 5. Kicking off the top 5 is a 1963 Royal Dalton figurine titled Cup of Tea. It features an old lady enjoying her cup of tea, and I picked this one up at a yard sale, and it sold on eBay for around $45, which gave me a profit of just around $28. So from Tennessee, this figurine went all the way across the country to Oregon. And while Royal Dalton figurines don't command the big dollars they once did, like pre eBay, pre internet selling, there's still a strong collector base for the right pieces, and I almost always pick them up if the price is right. At number four, we've got a piece of Delaware and baseball history. It's a 1951 Conradian yearbook, and it's from Henry C. Conrad High School in Wilmington, Delaware. Now, this one was special because it included the junior year of Dallas Green, who went on to manage the Philadelphia Phillies to their 1980 World Series championship. I picked this yearbook up at an estate sale for $4 and sold it on eBay for a little over $47 and netted a profit of just about $31. Now, fittingly, it made the trip right back home to Delaware. I do sell a ton of yearbooks, and the ones with notable alumni almost always command a premium. They're definitely a category worth keeping an eye out for when you're sourcing. So, if you have sold a yearbook, what's the most famous person that you ever found in one? Other people's yearbooks that I've sold include Don McLean of American Pie fame and also the guitarist for Weezer. He went to school right here in Knoxville at Bearden. The number three sale this week literally rocks. It's a 1988 Iron Maiden Seventh Son of a Seventh Son guitar songbook. I found this one at a thrift shop for just $1.50 and it sold on eBay for $48, netting a profit of just about $31. So from Tennessee, it's now rocking on up the highway to Illinois. And I have found songbooks are really good sellers for me, not just popular bands like Iron Maiden, but also gospel and religious music ones. They're lightweight, easy to ship, and the right ones can bring in some solid profits. Sliding into number two is more of the Wedgwood Kutani Crane china that we first saw back at number seven. This time it was a much larger set that included 4 soup bowls, 6 salad plates, and a creamer and sugar. Somebody reached out to me directly on Facebook Marketplace, and the deal ended up being $250. Since this was a front porch pickup, there were no platform fees or shipping costs, meaning everything outside of cost of goods sold was straight profit. I also sold a couple of additional Kutani Crane pieces this week, but those just missed the top 10. Any other China sellers out there? Let me know down in the comments. And at number one this week, we've got a massive China sale that really lives up to my nickname of the China King of Knoxville. This was a beautiful set of vintage German china by Karsten Sorau, I guess. It's Sorau, and it dates somewhere between the 1910s and the 1940s. Now, I never could find the exact pattern name, or maybe it didn't have one, but on replacements.com, it's referred to as CNU 14. And I picked this set up at a local online auction back in September of 2024, so almost exactly a year ago. And as part of this sale, I moved a big chunk of it. So the pieces that sold included a vegetable bowl and a covered vegetable bowl, a serving platter, a gravy boat, 2 salad plates, 8 fruit bowls, 6 bread and butter plates, 6 cereal bowls, and 4 dinner plates. The buyer spent right around $400, and after everything shook out, I cleared about $300 profit. And it took me 6 boxes to pack it all up, and honestly, it felt like working a jigsaw puzzle, just figuring out how to safely ship everything. But for a $300 profit, I'll take that puzzle any day of the week. Before we wrap things up, let's talk about my worst sale of the week. This is one that had been sitting in my inventory forever. I picked it up at Goodwill way back in 2017 for a little over $13, so almost 9 years ago. It was a collectible bronze plate from Wendell August Forge, and it showed the landing of Columbus. So I finally decided to lower the price just to move it, and it sold on Etsy for $46.20, headed all the way to Italy. Now I know $46.20 sounds good, but here's the catch. Most of that total was just the shipping the buyer paid. So after packing and postage, I actually ended up with a $1.10 loss. That said, the loss was really tied up in my cost of goods sold from way back in 2017. So from a cash flow standpoint, it still kind of felt like putting money in my pocket. And sometimes it's just about clearing out old inventory and moving on. And that's a wrap on this week's countdown. It was another strong week overall. Books in China really carried the top 10 if you count the songbook and magazines, books, with a few unique collectibles sprinkled in along the way. And if you're not already doing it, I highly recommend cross-posting your items to multiple marketplaces. I use List Perfectly at my stuff from eBay to Etsy, Poshmark, Facebook Marketplace, and more. It saves me a ton of time and it brings in extra sales that I would have missed otherwise. If you do want to give List Perfectly a try, you can use code FHV for 30% off your first month. And of course, don't forget to check out the Finders Flippers Resell Podcast that I co host with Wes from the Slim Flippers and Johnny from Frizzy's Finds. We talk about reselling, share a bunch of laughs, and sometimes we even go off the rails. But in any case, you'll find us right here on YouTube as well. Thanks so much for watching, and thank you to everyone who liked, commented, and subscribed after last week's video. Your support means the world to me and keeps me motivated to keep doing these What Sold videos every week. So tell me, what was your favorite sell from this week's top 10? And what's the weirdest or lowest profit flip that you've had recently? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. And until next time, happy hunting.